So hope you all got some idea about this is the end of the slide of RDBMS and NoSQL databases. So right now we'll jump to what Oracle does into RDBMS and what are the needs to learn the DBA and how we can survive in the market to give the strong competition to other. You need to keep your heads up always by learning the new technologies which is being driven in the market. So these are the basic needs to learn the DBA. First is Oracle SQL and Oracle SQL language. Then PLSQL would be an added advantage. Having said earlier, if you want to be a DBA, if you have strong background of Oracle SQL, where you are writing the query now, and if you wish to shift your role to database, you have the bright path to choose the Oracle DBA. Because when you know about the Oracle SQL and PLSQL language, you must be knowing how it works, how the data are being stored, and you just need to focus on the database administration part. Then the operating system knowledge must be there in order to learn database. For SQL, for Oracle developer, SQL and PLSQL language, you do not need to have the operating system knowledge. Whereas when you want to learn DBA, you must be learning as part of DBA course the OS knowledge as well, like troubleshooting the CPU, what is the memory usage, CPU usage, swapping, what are the IO issues. So these are the top issues which we used to refer at the OS level. We will be having access, once you become a DBA, you will be having access to log into the server where the database is hosted. And if you get any call to say some sort of issues, you must be able to log into the server and check. These are the main criteria: CPU, memory, IO, swapping. And based on this high usage, you can take further call for the performance tuning. That is the further checks. And in order to do that, you need to have some sort of Linux commands. Linux commands in the sense, the reason I have put Linux is the the most of the customers are using Linux. When you talk about Unix platform, you have Linux, Solaris, AX, HP Unix are the top brands in the market. Right now, since Oracle has its own Linux box, even Red Hat Linux also is giving some sort of own performance tuning profile within Red Hat. So in order to learn the DBA, you must be knowing some sort of Linux commands as well. Apart from the monitoring level, what I said earlier, CPU, memory, swapping, you must be knowing some sort of Linux commands as well. Like similar to what you use in DOS in Windows, like ls, cp, move, those basic stuffs, just to start with. And then Unix shell scripting. This is now become kind of mandatory, because when we recruit a DBA, we always test the opposite party skill set for the shell scripting. Unix shell scripting is a very powerful tool. Of course, you must have heard this when in your college days. This is a pretty old tool, but this is very dominating now, because with the Unix shell scripting, the things are getting automated. For an example, when you talk about the Oracle 18c, the Oracle itself says in earlier cases you need to have some sort of installations, configuration, everything, but with the Unix shell scripting, they're compiled as a script, and just you just need to run that script in the Linux box, in which the database will be created in a span of 10 minutes based on the business needs. So earlier it used to take some sort of 2 days of work. Now Oracle itself automated, and it just takes 15 minutes to create a database with the help of shell scripting. Of course, they use Perl. Perl scripting is nothing but the shell scripting, which is enhanced version. To start with, you must learn Unix shell script to drive to the Perl scripting. And familiarize, you should be familiarize with virtualization, because right now the companies are not focusing on keep buying the new server because they need to pay huge amount of money. If any new projects comes, companies would think about buying the new server, whether it can be Linux, Solaris, or those stuff, rather than if the business needs the new projects are huge in terms of data, where the database size is going to be in terabyte. Of course, you need to go for the dedicated physical server. Otherwise, for the small databases where the usage is less, companies are opting for virtualizations. So familiarize yourself with VM, that is virtual machine, Linux. There is a trend now in the market, and you should consider completing the Oracle certifications. That is OCA, OCP, the common things. OCM I have put because that is most advanced certifications, where you have to go and write the exam for 2 days. That is Oracle Certified Master. And then the requirement is to learn the ESM as well. ESM is nothing but in Oracle 10G they introduced the storage levels in order to manage the IO, better IO balance. Because earlier cases, Oracle, the customer used to engage Oracle whenever they have performance issues, and most of the cases it may be due to the IO imbalance happens at the server level. So in order to address those stuffs, Oracle has introduced the Oracle automatic storage management to have the IO balanced well, because the data can be distributed or segregated across the available disk. So once the data are segregated, the IO because having said in the earlier slide, when you rate it, when the end user clicks the button, the SQL query is triggered in the background, and then when it wants to pull the data from the storage level, of course the storage should not have any kind of traffic. So there should be proper room to retrieve the data. So ASM makes sure the data are eventually distributed across the disks, available disk at the OS level, in order to give better performance. And then the market trend is RAC, Real Application Cluster, is the very need for considering the current trend. To be honest, in our company, I work for Emirates in Dubai. We have lesser number of RAC databases, because we don't see, based on our business needs, we don't see any huge requirement for to go in RAC. When you talk about RAC, Real Application Cluster, the idea is to impose RAC is to have the load distributed across available nodes. So one database can run on multiple servers. That is called instance. So instance one, suppose you have 2-3 servers. The one database can run on 3 servers, sharing the common storage. It could be ASM, again automatic storage management. When you want to implement it, you need to make sure the loads are eventually distributed based on the business requirement. Of course, when you have the one physical server, if you see any kind of performance issues, and when you want to start troubleshooting it, and you are observing that CPUs always say 80 and 90%. Of course, the first initiate. Yeah, please go ahead. I just saw the message. I need one query. Muhammad Nazir. Hello. You can ask in the mic, or you can type in the chat window. You see the how to working in cluster databases. That's what cluster database in the sense. Hope you got some idea about cluster. What is cluster means? To run the database into different servers. You need to implement it. In the sense, you need to have some sort of background knowledge of operating system level. Network also needed, because when you want to learn Oracle DBA, you just no need to learn this stuff. I mean, when you want to implement the cluster database, you need to have the IP address details of each server. We have something called virtual IP, and then we used to have the common storage, because when you say cluster, the storage is common, the database is common. The only the instance are very different. The three servers. How to working in cluster database means. I hope I have answered your questions. If not, please reply. I will be glad to answer. So, common storage, common database, different instance. In order to, if you really wanted to work, you need to have the different sort of. Okay, thanks. I'll just complete my answer to give more details. If you really wanted to practice yourself, get the VM installed in your server. You can have multiple VMs installed, and you can configure the cluster, rack database within that VMs. All it needs to have is different kind of IPs to talk about each other, and different the common storage to talk about to retrieve the data at the business needs. Unless until you get to know the database, I mean the implementing rack because when you want to create a database, common database, standalone database, of course there is not much hassle, which can be done in a 5 to 10 minutes if it's automated. Because when you want to implement rack, that is comes to quite you need to understand the concept of cluster. Having said, at the network level, the availability level, the server level, all needs to composed into one single platform in order to implement rack. And then the choice is yours. It's up to you. You can choose whatever you want. These are the business basic needs of if you want to learn DBA. And I'll be taking the DBA lessons over the period of time, but it may take more time. This is just to give some sort of small introduction about what is database.